Let me tell you something right now, and I need you to pay very close attention because the Toronto Blue Jays front office is dancing dangerously close to a decision that could haunt this franchise for years. There is a very loud, very vocal crowd of fans and analysts out there screaming to trade Eric Lowour. And while I understand the logic, while I see where they're coming from, I am here today to tell you, loudly, clearly, and without a single ounce of hesitation, that trading Eric Lowour would be one of the most boneheaded, short-sighted, knee-jerk decisions this organization could possibly make, heading into a season where a World Series title is absolutely on the table. Buckle up, Blue Jays Nation, because we are going all the way in on this one. Let's set the stage. The Blue Jays just went to the World Series. The city of Toronto erupted. The entire baseball world stood up and took notice. And now, heading into 2026, we have assembled what might legitimately be one of the most terrifyingly stacked pitching rosters in the entire American League. Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Trey Yesavage, Jose Barrios, Cody Ponce, Max Scherzer, yes, that Max Scherzer, the future Hall of Famer, is back in the fold after the Blue Jays re-signed him in a move that sent shockwaves through the baseball world. And then there is Shane Bieber, a guy who will eventually slot back into this rotation once he recovers from his current injury. Every single one of those names, every single one, is a right-handed pitcher, righties as far as the eye can see, like a sea of righty arms stretching endlessly into the horizon. And then, tucked quietly at the bottom of the bullpen depth chart, is a 30-year-old left-hander who just quietly put together one of the most valuable seasons by any pitcher on this entire roster. His name is Eric Lowour, and some people want to get rid of him. I cannot believe we are even having this conversation. Let's talk about the loudest voice pushing this narrative. Our good friend Aaron Ben Rose, a guy who was right there in the trenches with us during those World Series live streams, so nobody can say he doesn't bleed Blue Jay blue, recently came out swinging on social media. He tweeted, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it brings him no joy to say this, but Eric Lowour clearly wants to start, and with Max Scherzer back in the rotation, the right move is to trade him. He called it selling high. He called it doing right by a guy who was the ultimate team player last season. And look, I respect the perspective, I genuinely do. There is a human element here that matters. Lowour made enormous sacrifices for this team in 2025. He was bounced around, shuffled in and out of the rotation, told to be flexible, told to be a team player, told that the bigger picture matters. And every single time, he nodded his head and went out there and competed. That deserves acknowledgement. That deserves respect. But here is where I have to pump the absolute brakes on this entire trade conversation. Let's actually look at what Eric Lowour did last season, because the numbers tell a story that should make any Blue Jays fan terrified of the idea of watching him pitch for another team. As a starter in 2025, Lowour posted a 3.77 ERA across 74 innings. That is very good. That is legitimately rotation-quality pitching from a guy who stepped up when this team desperately needed him. But here is the number that should make your jaw drop. When Lowour moved to the bullpen, when he was asked to make the sacrifice and pitch out of the pen in high-leverage spots late in the season, his ERA was 1.76, over 30.2 innings of relief work. That is not just good, that is elite. That is shutdown reliever territory. That is the kind of number that teams pay significant money to acquire on the open market, and the Blue Jays already have him. Now let's remember something important. Earlier this offseason, there was a very serious conversation happening about re-signing Chris Bassitt, and the argument in favor of bringing Bassitt back was essentially this. He was so good as a reliever last season, why not keep him in that role and pay him to do it again? Well, guess what? The Blue Jays already have that guy. They have a pitcher who proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that he can be absolutely dominant coming out of the bullpen. They have a left-handed version of that very argument sitting right in their own organization on a deal worth just $4.4 million. And somehow, people want to give that away. I do not understand it. I truly do not. And this brings us to what is arguably the most underrated, most criminally overlooked part of this entire debate. Take a long, hard look at the handedness of every single pitcher currently projected to make up the Blue Jays' starting rotation. Gausman, right-handed. Cease, right-handed. Yesevich, right-handed. Berrios, right-handed. Ponce, right-handed. Scherzer, right-handed. Bieber, right-handed. 7 pitchers projected to start games for Toronto in 2026, and every single one of them throws with the same arm. There is not a single lefty in that entire group. Now, swing your eyes over to the bullpen. In the entire relief corps, the Blue Jays currently have exactly 3 legitimate left-handed options: Brendan Little, Mason Fluharty, and Eric Lowour. That's it. 3 lefties for the whole pen and rotation combined. Here is why that matters enormously, and this part of the argument cannot be stressed enough. Brendan Little is a talented young pitcher with a very real and very well-documented problem. He gets overworked. We watched it happen in real time last season. Little was electric in the first half of 2025, one of the most trusted left-handed weapons John Schneider had in that bullpen. And then the second half came, and he started showing signs of fatigue. He was less sharp. The stuff that was devastating hitters in April and May was suddenly more hittable in August and September. And the reason he was fatigued? Because he was being run out there too many times, too many nights in a row, in too many high-pressure situations. And why was that? Because the Blue Jays did not have enough quality left-handed relief options. It was Little, it was Fluharty, and it was Eric Lowour in the rotation. The cupboard was uncomfortably bare on the left side. If the Blue Jays trade Eric Lowour, they are walking right back into that exact same situation. They are handing manager John Schneider a bullpen with essentially one real lefty specialist, and they are telling him good luck navigating a 162-game season plus a playoff run with that. That is not a recipe for a World Series. That is a recipe for a repeat of Brendan Little looking gassed in October when everything is on the line. There is only one realistic way this calculation changes, and his name is Ricky Tiedemann. Tiedemann is a left-handed pitching prospect who, when healthy, could absolutely slide in and take some of the load off. But here is the brutal truth about Ricky Tiedemann right now. He is not healthy. He has been dealing with elbow fatigue and has reportedly been shut down entirely. You cannot count on a guy who is not even throwing. You cannot make roster construction decisions based on a wild card that might not be ready until June, July, or potentially not at all this season. Trading Lowour based on the hope that Tiedemann rides in to save the day is the kind of optimistic roster management that gets teams eliminated in the first round. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is Eric Lowour himself, because to his credit, the man has been refreshingly honest about where his head is at. He recently told reporters that he had been told, quote, some things like for certain would happen this year, and then the Blue Jays made some moves, brought in some great guys, and now he is looking at a roster where a starting spot is not guaranteed. He described it as a little frustrating. And honestly, he has every right to be frustrated. If the organization made promises to this man and then signed 4 starting pitchers over the offseason, that is a communication failure on someone's end. That is a management issue that needs to be addressed directly, not papered over by shipping him out of town. On top of the frustration over his role, Lowour also lost his arbitration case and will earn $4.4 million this season rather than the $5.75 million his camp filed for. And he has been transparent about believing that pitching out of the bullpen in the second half of 2025 is what cost him that money. He told The Athletic that the whole bouncing back and forth thing last year kind of hurt him in the long run. This guy sacrificed financially for this team, and now some people want to reward that loyalty by shipping him elsewhere. But here is what gives me genuine hope when I listen to Lowour speak. After describing the frustration, after acknowledging the complicated feelings, he pivoted to something that showed real character. He essentially said, look, I am still in a great spot to produce. All I have to do is go out there and do it. That is the mentality of a winner. That is the mentality of someone who understands that performance creates opportunity, and that whining about a situation is far less productive than going out and changing it. And John Schneider has been very clear about the philosophy of this roster. It is a meritocracy. Performance dictates roles. If someone is not delivering, they are out, and the next guy is in. Lowour knows that. And with Trey Yesevich still relatively young and being managed carefully, with Scherzer not yet with the team, with Bieber starting the season on the injured list, there is an absolutely real chance that Eric Lowour gets meaningful starting opportunities in the early part of this season. And if he takes those opportunities and runs with them, the starting rotation conversation takes care of itself. Let's also address the most practical part of this debate, which is the return value. What exactly are the Blue Jays getting back if they trade Eric Lowour? Because this is where the pro-trade argument falls apart completely for me. Some analysts have suggested the Blue Jays might be able to land a highly rated minor league prospect from a team like the Los Angeles Angels, who are desperately short on rotation depth. And sure, a prospect sounds exciting on paper, but let's be real here. The Blue Jays just went to the World Series. They are not in rebuilding mode. They are not collecting prospects to prepare for a championship window that opens 3 years from now. The window is open right now. The team is assembled right now. Adding a prospect to the farm system does nothing to help a team that has World Series aspirations in 2026. The only trade that makes this conversation interesting is if Lowour becomes the swing piece in a deal for a legitimate, established major league impact player. And I have not seen a single shred of evidence that any team is offering that in exchange for a versatile left-handed swingman on a $4.4 million deal. So the most likely trade scenario is you send away one of your best lefty arms and you get back another lefty arm of similar value. Congratulations, you shuffled the deck and achieved nothing. The bottom line is this: the Toronto Blue Jays are a team on a mission. They are not the Oakland Athletics. They are not some rebuilding franchise trying to shed payroll and accumulate prospects. They are a team with legitimate World Series ambitions, a loaded roster, and a narrow window of opportunity to bring a championship to one of the most passionate baseball cities in the world. Eric Lowour is one of the best 26 men available to help accomplish that mission. He is elite out of the bullpen. He is more than capable as a spot starter. He is the only left-handed option this rotation has. He is a veteran who has shown he can handle pressure situations in October, and he is available at a price, $4.4 million, that represents extraordinary value relative to his actual on-field production. Trading him away based on the idea that he deserves a starting job somewhere else is noble in theory and catastrophically stupid in practice for a franchise trying to win right now. Keep Eric Lowour, lock him in, let him compete, let John Schneider use him as the versatile weapon he proved himself to be in 2025. And when Brendan Little needs a night off in August with a playoff race on the line, you are going to be very, very grateful that Eric Lowour is still in that bullpen. The Blue Jays cannot afford to give this away. Not this season, not with everything they have built. That is the full breakdown, Blue Jays Nation. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Blue Jays should keep Eric Lowour or pull the trigger on a trade? Drop your take in the comments right now, and let's get this debate going. If you learned something new today, if this video changed your mind even slightly, I need you to hit that like button because it genuinely helps this channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you this level of deep dive Blue Jays coverage. And if you are not already subscribed, what on earth are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another video. We are on a mission this season, just like the Blue Jays are, and I am so glad you are riding with us. Go Jays!